Let's kick off this explainer with a question that really gets to the core of how our society functions. What is more important, rules and buildings or sincere education? Just think about it for a second. When we picture a school, we immediately see brick walls, whiteboards, rows of desks, right? But what happens when you strip every single bit of that away? What's actually left? Is it still a school? Well, today we're exploring a really powerful piece of literature that forces us to confront exactly that scenario. We're diving into The Inspector of Schools, which is a remarkably poignant short story by the acclaimed Pakistani writer Athar Tahir. And, this isn't just some fictional made-up fairy tale. It's a grounded, hyper-realistic look at the harsh realities of the rural education system. It's essentially the story of two men, an exhausted government inspector and a rural schoolmaster, who both deeply value education, but they're completely trucked by the very systems that are supposed to be supporting them. Here is our roadmap for today. Step 1, find the school. Step 2, the sugarcane field. Step 3, the master. Step 4, the problem. And finally, Step 5, the rules. Part 1, the search for the school. A bureaucrat's frustration. Imagine being our protagonist, a government inspector of schools, wandering through a remote, incredibly impoverished village, and honestly, he is not having a good time. Just listen to this excerpt directly from the text. The street's bumpy, muddy, where the water from the flanking mud houses had trickled out. Tahir doesn't paint some romantic, idealized picture of rural life here. He thrusts us right into this damp, depressing, muddy physical environment. The inspector's trekking miles into the interior, walking down these damp tracks, swatting buzzing insects away from his face in the sweltering heat, just trying to do his job. To really get this inspector, you have to understand his profound cynicism. I mean, he's been doing this job for 3 years, and day in, day out, he sees the exact same systemic failures. We're talking a total lack of basic supplies, decaying facilities, apathetic students, and teachers who are basically just phoning it in to collect some extra fees. And the absolute worst part? Whenever he actually tries to fix it, whenever he writes up a recommendation for the planning and development department, it just gets shot down, rejected. He is a man who has totally lost his faith in the system. So the sheer absurdity of his current situation is really striking. He's finally in the village, ready to inspect the school, and he asks the local, "Where is the school?" But nobody can give him a straight answer. First, he's directed out to a large shisham tree. He trudges all the way out there, and there's nothing, just an empty, plowed field. It turns out this school isn't a building at all. It moves. Part 2, a school in the sugarcane. An unexpected discovery. Eventually, a local points the inspector toward a thick crop of sugarcane. After stumbling over the hard ground, getting his arms and face scratched up by the sharp green tops of the cane, the inspector finally breaches the center. And the text reveals this genuinely shocking image. There, in a clearing among sugarcane stumps, about 40 students sat cross-legged on the bare ground. No desks, no building, no whiteboards anywhere. It's literally just 40 kids sitting in the dirt, surrounded by towering sugarcane, with a few battered writing boards propped up against the stalks to catch the sun. Now, given his 3 years of bitter experience, the inspector immediately expects the absolute worst. He assumes this makeshift dirt floor gathering is going to be an unmanaged disaster, with kids just mindlessly repeating things by rote. But the reality absolutely stuns him. He starts testing the kids, and a 4th-class student reads a passage loud and clear, without a single stutter. The 2nd-class students are confidently solving math sums. 1st-class students recite the English alphabet perfectly. Against all odds, this dirt floor classroom is producing students who are vastly outperforming kids in traditional, well-funded government schools. Part 3, the master's ultimate sacrifice. Dedication beyond limits. So how is this even possible? Well, it all comes down to the old schoolmaster, who's presiding over this sugarcane classroom on a rickety, heavily repaired chair. The inspector asks him, "Why do you keep moving the school?" And the master explains the bitter truth about the village's social attitude. The locals just do not want a school. They think education is a complete waste of time. They genuinely believe children should be out working in the fields, looking after cattle, and helping their fathers. The only man who supports them at all is a local headman named Chaudhry Ali Muhammad. He temporarily lets them use the shade of a tree, and later, the center of his sugarcane field. Because there's no land and no building, the master has to rely on pure, unyielding hard work to keep education alive. And the physical toll of that hard work is just staggering.
The master explains that Chaudhary let them use the field, sure, but they had to clear it entirely by themselves. So the old master and his students spent 3 full days, from 8 in the morning until sunset, hacking away at the thick sugarcane. Pay close attention to this specific description from the text. The master removes his turban to show the inspector his head, and right in the middle of his hennaed hair is a smooth, bald patch.
"I've lost my hair, carrying those bundles," the master says, his voice actually going hoarse with tears in his eyes. He literally wore the hair off his own head, carrying heavy bundles of sugarcane, just to clear a space so his students could have a place to sit on the bare earth and learn something. It's the ultimate, selfless sacrifice. This isn't just a job for him. It is an absolute devotion to the future of these kids.
Part 4. Rules over human need, the system's failure. As the inspector is leaving, profoundly moved by everything he's just seen, the master follows him out of the field to make a single, incredibly humble plea. And the contrast between these two men couldn't be starker right now. On one side, you have the master. He's not asking for money or a fancy new building. He just asks for one room. Or, hey, if not a room, just a tiny plot of cheap land in the village. He tells the inspector that if they just had the land, he and the boys would spend a whole season building the room themselves. Then, on the other side, you have the inspector. He's super sympathetic. He knows this master deserves literally all the help in the world, but he is entirely paralyzed by the rigid bureaucracy of his position.
This leads to a truly haunting realization from the inspector. A rule is a rule. The government does not provide land or buildings for primary schools. The locals are supposed to step up and provide that. And the inspector knows without a doubt that if he sends a recommendation to bend this rule for the master, it will be instantly rejected. The rules have been followed for a century. Independence didn't change them. So despite seeing the most dedicated teacher of his entire career, the inspector just gets in his Jeep and drives away, unable to even meet the old man's eyes. The system just completely crushes human initiative.
Let's pull back for a second and look at the massive themes Tahir has woven into this short, powerful narrative. We see this stark reality of rural poverty. We get a blistering critique of a bureaucracy that values rigid rules way over actual human needs. But shining through all of that darkness is the crucial importance of education and the raw, beautiful dedication of teachers who fight against all odds. It's a clear, urgent call that society's attitude towards schooling absolutely has to evolve. Part 5. The man behind the story. Athar Tahir. Now you might be wondering how the author managed to capture this specific, incredibly frustrating bureaucracy so perfectly. Well, it's because he lived it. Tahir is a highly distinguished figure. He was a Rhodes Scholar at Oxford University in 1974, and he won the National Book Council Prize in 1991. But crucially, he spent his career serving in Pakistan's civil service. So this wasn't just abstract to him. He knew exactly what it felt like to be a government official tangled up in endless red tape, seeing real problems on the ground but being totally restricted from solving them by the structure of the institution itself. He channeled that real-world institutional paralysis directly into the character of the inspector. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a lingering thought to chew on. The master proved, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that a great teacher can create a great school entirely without a building. But the real tragedy of the story asks us, how many schools, how many brilliant minds are prevented from growing just because of a rigid, unyielding system? It's a question that resonates far beyond the sugarcane field of this story and into classrooms all around the world today. Thanks for hanging out with me for this deep dive, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.